The views expressed in this presentation are those of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of any lodge, Grand Lodge, appended body, or any other person or persons whomsoever.
Brethren, we are at Refreshment.
I'm a cool guy, right? You know, we're cool. He's like, yeah. He's kind of weird.
Like I said, just a bunch of old guys eating hashed over crock pot food. And well,
You're just not high enough up in the conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
And the potentate is right where you are. And what does he do? He just starts laughing his ass off.
Welcome to the At Refreshment Masonic Video Podcast. I'm your host, Wesley Reuter. And let me introduce you to everyone else. Over to my right, we got
Brock from Raven 303.
to the left,
Yoshi, Villa Park Lodge, number 1113.
and the far left.
Marty, Villa Park Lodge, a whole bunch of other places. How you doing?
Namaste, Alcohol Shaman.
Namaste.
Looking like you're doing pretty good there.
Never bad, baby.
So,
Oh, actually, hold on. Gotta get some other way though, real quick.
oh, okay.
All right, just personal thing, because I know...
That sounds great. Go ahead, Marty. Do that, dude. Go for it.
If you look at that really tolerant woman over there, I recently did get engaged, and I do want to put that out to our fans.
Yes, you did.
Woo! Congratulations, brother.
Congratulations, you two.
Yeah, I tricked her.
Cheers.
Everybody needs to be tricked to get married. So, on this show, you may see some of us, if not all of us, even though I wear a ring from him, some of the clothing. Some hats. They come from our good friend Carl Hern, who owns
And operates.
Ascended Masters Clothing.
Formerly known as Alter Ego.
Made by Masons.
For Masons.
Masonic activities.
So, without further ado, we shall bring him in. Carl Hern.
on.
Carl!
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
How you doing?
Brother, I love you, brother. I love you, brother. Marty.
Living, baby.
So, Carl,
You know, can I stop you just for 1 second, real quick? I just want to say to everybody out there in YouTube land and podcast land, we are two different people.
That's right. Two different.
cool guy one, cool guy two. So,
Seeing double.
hit the one in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, brother from another mother.
Yeah, brown and bearded, brother. Brown and bearded.
Awesome.
So, what made you decide to get into clothing, Masonic clothing?
Well, there's two questions there. Clothing, Masonic clothing. Which one?
Clothing for Masons.
So clothing for Masons, when I first became a Mason, first thing I wanted to do was wear something, you know what I mean? Masonic, something to show my pride in the craft. So I started looking eBay, Amazon, Wish, all these things that people talk about today, and I didn't find anything that I liked for that matter, because everything was all cookie cutter. It was all
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, there's a lot of
the
the
same
same stuff,
thing,
yes.
the same deal. You know what I mean? Chinese people selling this stuff.
Generic square and
Which-
compass.
Exactly. That's
Wes's favorite, the square and compass on the thong.
I'm wearing one right now for you.
I knew he was.
that's
How do
right.
you think I keep picking my ass?
He'd been over and I thought he was wearing one of those hipster
$5.99.
shoestrings.
$5.99. $5.99.
So, needless to say, I'm looking for stuff. I can't find anything, right? And then my wife decides to say, "Hey, why don't you just create something? You know, you're an artist. You like creating things. Why don't you just create your own Masonic clothing line?" I said, "Okay."
Was it that or, honey, I'm tired of you not doing shit. Why don't you just get up off your ass
Basically.
and do something? Do clothing for all I
make her
care.
do all the work. Like, literally,
Yeah.
I love her. She's.
I see her working the
Yes,
field
your wife
all the
works
time.
very hard with
Yeah,
you.
I
Yes,
put her
she
to work.
does.
I just say, "Hey, babe, make some money." You know what I mean? I'll use the excuse as my art. You know.
Marty is biting his lip over there.
Dude, she works like so hard that I'm almost like expecting like if she doesn't work that hard, they're turning your lights off at the house. Like, I took a third mortgage to start a Masonic T-shirt company.
My wife
Well, I
does
seen him in
not
Egypt. That's
fuck
why
around.
he's doing it.
She
Yeah.
does not fuck around. I'll tell you that.
No, she's hardcore.
No, she's an awesome chick.
Yeah, very
I love
nice.
her to death, but so she gave me the great idea. I decided to print a shirt. I printed a shirt, gave half away to my lodge. The other half I sold. And with the profit that I used to make at that moment, it was greater than the profit that I had as being a man.
Which was
So-
the first shirt?
The first shirt was the 2 blades, which
Okay.
was the brothers' blade.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. Half of those got given away, and the other half we used to continue the line. When we did that, you know, I felt that I was putting myself into the craft, and brothers really received it well. And as soon as we did that, second shirt, third shirt, fourth shirt, here we are.
Yeah.
4 years later.
4 years later.
Yeah, it's
4 years
amazing.
And you have dozens of shirts.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, kind of talk about some of the other stuff. I know you just got back from Masonicon. You went out to Massachusetts, right?
Right.
Yep. So I mean, you go to pretty much more. We were just talking about Pasadena or whatever. Their Masonicon coming up. Texas, all these different stuff. Kind of tell us a little bit about the travel, about the different stuff. The very first time I ever met you was at the Valley of Danville, and they gave you an award even for like how much, you know, providing the light for Masons and made by a Mason actually, and going to
Yeah.
the Valley and helping brothers figure out what ring size they are for the first ring they've ever got. Or, you know, you see something online, you can't tell the metals, the quality, or any of that. But with you, you know, you and your wife, I mean, you guys are hands-on, you're there, people are trying the rings on. You have, the selection is crazy, dude. Your booth is
rings up
amazing.
Yeah, he's got the rings right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just couldn't see them. So,
But yeah,
And
if you
all
want
of
to
these
just
are available online.
how much, Tammy?
But I mean, just a little bit about your travels, man. Some of the cool places or some of the unique experiences or whatever.
So we travel the world, me and my wife. Some of you have met her, and you know, we seek out places that have a certain vibe. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to have something that calls you, something that draws you to it. So when you listen to that, it's called intuition. When we listen to it, we know what draws us. And just like Freemasonry has drawn me into it, there's certain countries that have drawn us into it as a couple. And anybody that has another significant other will realize and understand what I mean by a couple. You know, that yin and yang, you've got that contrast between positive and negative, and that's what Freemasonry really is. It's that contrast between how I square my angles and how I circumvent myself.
Yeah.
And that's all it really is. And when you got that union between man and woman, that's when you got that esoterics. And we were talking about that earlier.
Hey.
And that esoterics is just, it's what brings the craft to where it's at. And what I've been realizing this whole journey, because Marty right here, this guy, Marty is an awesome dude. I mean, Marty has been...
Wait.
Marty
When
has
did you
been
stumble upon this
instrumental.
information?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Marty has been instrumental in my career in Masonry. And I will kid you not. he's
Did
one
he
of the
bring you
brothers
in,
here.
or how did you get in? Since
He-
you're kind of getting there. So
He didn't bring me in. I mean, I'm not talking about my journey in Masonry. I'm talking about Masonry in general. So I don't really want to focus on me. But anyone who knows me will know where I'm from.
But that's
the hood,
That's
you know
part
what
of the that's part of the journey. You becoming a Mason.
I'm that
So-
But if you
Illuminati.
don't,
I'm that
then it's fine.
Illuminati Mason. Everybody knows where he's from. Like,
Hit us up on WhatsApp.
Gosh, you guys make
no,
me
but
want to
seriously.
drink more.
Seriously, Marty, you've been instrumental
Thank you, sir.
in my path in Masonry, and that's what Masonry really is. It's just a path, an individual path of where do you want to go? Where do you want to
So
be?
actually, check this out, Carl. I want to tell you a weird little story. So that was when I was like throwing your name on anything I humanly could for a while, and someone asked me like, "Hey, is he like doing anything for you for that?" I said, "I think he like gave me a T-shirt
You
once."
shook my hand.
Yeah, you know, but, no, and he's like, well, someone was like, when I said that, they're like, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, because he's bringing something to the table of value.
Yeah.
It's not, he's offering something to Masonry that I could connect with. Because you see that dude walk in with a pastel golf shirt with a crooked square and compasses,
Yeah.
made in Taiwan. You're like, how is that, crap? And I understand where people can maybe bring critiques, so they don't always understand some of the intensity of his art. But I'm like, how can you not look at this raw, beautiful image handcrafted by
Yeah.
a brother and not and it doesn't speak to you? So,
Yeah.
I mean, from the minute I saw your stuff, Carl, I was like, this is clothing that I could get behind.
Yep.
And if I wanted to show, man, because I've always thought your shirts, or if I wore like the Rays shirt when that first came out, it was the hottest thing going, right? And when I saw that, I'm like, I'm gonna put this thing on, and people are gonna want to talk to me about that.
Yeah.
And when they see it, and then I explain what it is and kind of give them, the little I can to someone who's not initiated into, order and our secrets.
That's right.
They're gonna want to follow that because it's cool. It's actually, fun. It's awesome. I don't want to say it's edgy or punk rock, but
Dude, I totally agree. I think that like it brings something to Freemasonry where like I go to a lot of concerts and stuff like that, and it's like, dude, I want to wear something cool and whatever, but I don't want to be like over the top with a giant square and compass, but I can wear something like this or like that shirt where people see that and they're like, dude, it's punk rock, it looks cool. You can wear it to a rock concert, you can wear it to a hip hop show, and people don't think anything of it. They think it's cool. And then, dude, the people that do know, like the rappers or random other people, they'll be like, dude, I see that guy's got the apron on, or they call it out. It's something that's, it brings something deeper, dude.
I got a nice black jacket that would go great with that shirt.
Carl, sell him your shirt.
I mean, I know you guys don't see me wearing.
I'll take it off and hand it to you. What size are you?
But
You got another shirt under that?
No, what size are you?
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll just switch shirts.
That's literally what I would do.
Remember a few episodes ago we were talking about being brand ambassadors and everything?
Yes.
I mean, kind of going to that, if I wanted to explain Masonry and how I feel about Masonry to someone, I'm not going to explain it with a baby blue golf shirt I got from some website where I never knew anyone on it. But I can say, hey, well, let me tell you kind of what this shirt means, and let me tell you about this cool guy who made it, who I roll with hard.
Yeah.
You know, my vision of what I want to share with people is represented through a lot of his art.
And you know what? Every time I see you and every time I talk to you, you're always smiling, man. That I like it. I can't do that. I can't do that, but I love it that you can do it, and you bring in uniqueness to when you're selling your products and stuff. Like, you know, this shirt here, that's beautiful. I don't see that on a lot of shirts, and usually if you see some, there's usually a band attached to it.
Yeah.
Not something Masonic or anything.
Dude, have you seen the band shirts with the square and compass that aren't Masonic bands?
Oh,
though?
yeah, dude.
What I'm
Some of these
saying,
guys,
Like Bullet for My Valentine, they got a
it's
square
usually
and
a
compass on the
band.
shirt.
Yeah,
Dude, these bands,
I don't know if they're
Dude, these
Masons,
bands
though.
use like all this symmetry, like symbolism, and they have no idea what it means.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
oh yeah, look at this, all the hot dogs.
It's a
kids
cult.
love it, man.
It's a cult, bro.
Yeah, like,
It's actually funny because like the one popular mainstream brand, which I'm 99.9% sure the dude's a Mason, he puts it out there like in a way that only other Masons can see it. Ghost, I know you watch my show. You hit me up, okay?
So now, one of the two of the unique things that you do with shirts and one without. We'll get to the other shirt.
Wait, what does he do without his shirt? I mean,
Right.
No,
Oh,
the beard oil. Thanks for ruining it, Marty. But
I
you
thought
got
we were
another
gonna-
shirt, and you wanted to talk about charity for a little bit.
oh yeah, this is really cool.
and I've seen these on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've
Yes,
seen
I've
brothers
seen
post
this.
the photos in them.
This is our autism awareness shirt.
And can I ask, why did you pick autism?
I had a brother reach out to me. He's got an autistic daughter, and he asked if I can help with a shirt. So I said, sure, I can do that. We designed this shirt together. Next thing you know, it just sat on the shelf. It just sat on the shelf. We never did anything with it. Called the brother up. We talked and we discussed it, and then he just, something happened, and we never did anything with it. It always happens. That's how it works. You always talk about, with brothers, you always talk about how, hey, let's get together and do this thing, just like this, this
you're
podcast.
right.
Here's the beauty of it. This podcast, it's just been an amalgamation of brothers that have come together to do this thing, this one thing,
And
once a month.
I mean,
Different guys that
yeah.
want to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we brought to the table, it's quite simple. I mean, we talk about the three ruffians. We talk about these three fellow crabs. We talk about these three skulls on our table.
These vile miscreants.
Exactly. And we learn to understand who each one of these three skulls are.
T1, T2, T3.
That's
all I'll say about that.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. That's right.
So now the other thing is, you do things with little vials of oil for men that have these things on their faces that are hairy, called beards. And there's one guy.
I believe
There's one guy who's been dying, literally dying. He's been talking about it all the time since we've been starting this, about doing a demonstration of beard oil.
Wait, hold on. What?
A live demo?
We're doing a live beard oil
QVC.
We're doing a live
QVC.
live oil. We're doing a
This
live
is-
oiling.
Gentlemen, this is
Cool oil.
The afterglow.
The afterglow.
afterglow.
Look at
The
that.
new
Oh my gosh.
official-
Is that this is the new official?
The new official.
You are going to be a new man after
So
that.
how do you?
Oh, that
I've
is
never grown a beard. How does this oil applied, or how much do you put on there? How does that work? Oh, yeah, it
brother,
smells great, man.
good. I wish you guys could smell it. Oh my God, it
Wait, for
smells
how
so good.
for how much on your website can they smell it?
If they want to smell it, they've got to come to one of our
Call our WhatsApp
one of our events. Yeah, right.
and you'll be able to smell it.
the WhatsApp.
Illuminati confirmed.
So, first tell us a little bit about it, why you came up with it, and
Or, yeah,
how
what's
you
in
put
it?
it on. And put it on Yoshi.
So this beard oil here, it's special because I had brothers name it.
I remember them.
What's the name of this particular beard oil?
Afterglow, the Afterglow Masonic beard oil. And what you want to do is with beard oil, depending on the length of your beard, you're going to want to put between 6 to 10 drops of beard oil.
Give him,
Palm of
give
your
him,
hand.
15.
Okay.
15 for
Palm of your
masonry.
hand, mix it up, make it all nice and warm. Rub it in right into the face.
Oh
right
gosh,
into
you
the
look so
beard.
sexy now.
I know, right? It feels
So what kind of
nice.
stuff does
Oh my
the beard
gosh.
oil do?
Tell me that doesn't
it
look-
softens
doesn't it look
the hair,
beautiful?
Dad just
or-
made
Doesn't
everything
it?
more radiant.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
It's definitely got some gloss to it, but
You
smells
are.
good.
and then you
smell
smell
better.
it. You smell it, and it's just
Right.
Dave, can you put a disco
What
ball
about, like,
down and have
essential
everything
oils
shine
and
down
stuff
on
like
him?
that?
So it's got essential oils in it.
Oh, wow,
there's essential
exactly.
oils in it, yeah. Absolutely.
Because then you have all the stress relief and all the
Right.
great stuff and
Right.
benefits of that.
So we're working on a 7 chakra oil.
Oh, wow.
So 7 chakra oil, there's 7 different oils, and they will all come in different colored vials. So in other words, the vial that it comes in, this one here is brown. That vial will come in the color that pertains to each chakra. So
Wow, that's awesome.
it'll be able to.
Would it be encouraged
try
to wear
to-
all 7 at once, or they have a distinct purpose each?
They'll each have a purpose.
you smell it again.
Yeah, I must want to give me one more little.
Give it a little try. Give it a little try in your
See,
beard.
I
I should have grew a beard for this one.
So, have you heard of the things like I've seen at the
You don't got much.
Theosophical
That should be-
Society
yeah,
that should be- that
Quest
should be
books? They have these little vials of essential oils that you can kind of rub on. But they'll have like chopped up sage, rosemary, whatever, more of a raw thing. And obviously, there's a beard oil, but
the vapors.
what about like sometimes I see they put crystals and stones and other things like that in the vials or whatever.
We are working on an infused beard oil, and that's what we're calling it, the infused. So Solomon's Secrets will be the infused beard oil, where you'll have the actual clear vial, and inside you'll have the liquid, and at the bottom of the liquid you'll have Solomon's seal root. So you'll have that root.
Very
in the beard
cool.
oil. Yeah,
That's
nice?
pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
got
that's
that.
awesome.
just a little secret there. For you
Hey,
guys.
exactly.
Hey,
man.
you heard it here
That's
first.
only for at Refreshment.
You hear it first. You heard it here first.
So
And what would you call that again? The new.
Solomon's Secrets. That's gonna. I mean,
Be,
it's gonna be a while, but look out for it.
Yeah, be on the lookout for Solomon's Secrets. I do.
I like how we were just nonchalantly waiting at someone.
I know.
Hey, man. Welcome, dude.
Been drinking a little bit too much. All right. I really like this bag, but I'm going to ask why, if you're the bearded Mason doing all the oil and everything, why the shave?
Why the shave? So people have asked me why the razor blade on the Bearded Builders logo.
Because
Why
there's
the
no
razor blade? Right. So
there's
it's
no
like,
razor
why
blade,
would a
there's no
bearded,
shave.
why would a
Sculpting of
bearded,
it, man, doing the
why would a
cheeks,
bearded Mason
the neck.
need a razor blade? He just
Yeah.
said it. Brock just said it.
Yeah.
You've got to sculpt that.
Pardon me.
Yep.
So with that razor, you sculpt that beard, and you get that design, that pattern that you want. Even cutting it. So for example, I know guys that with a razor blade
Yeah.
pull their beard
Yeah.
and shave the ends of it
Yeah.
instead of
Wow.
using a machine.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose the razor as the square.
And I mean, when
It's
you
just
start,
square-
It's still,
square
it's
iron.
still,
reason why I
it's
asked
still-
about-
It's still the working tools.
Well, because I shave. I use a
you do
the
it on
single
daily.
safety razor.
Oh, yeah.
You
I don't,
shave on
I don't
daily.
use plastic razor or anything like that. Should start selling these. I think there would be. I think you'd probably get a little bit of the guys that like the old school technique.
there's a
'cause
lot of
I'm
people
getting-
that the straight
Yeah, I'm
razor is
getting
coming
back
No,
Yeah.
back.
straight
that.
razor,
And I know
is
I
coming
do-
back.
Yeah.
It is.
So-
I do
So-
like a good shave, close shave, but I do like a beard as well. But my wife prefers it this way, so therefore I do it. I think if you did something, I think it would go a long way. Now you don't have to listen to me. That's just my idea because you had it on here,
Shark
so that's
Tank pitch
why
for you.
Shark Tank.
I am asking, and that's all. So that's
Yeah,
why.
I mean, everything has been thought out. Like, I don't just come up with this design and just say, "Hey, I'm just going to throw a square and compass."
Well,
on
no, it
something.
looks cool, and I get it why, with
Well, I was
the
gonna
beard.
say, show
but-
the
open that
inside.
up?
Yeah,
Let's
show
look
the
at this.
hanger.
So-
Yeah,
So
show the hanging.
There's
and
a
like,
method. There's a method to all this madness.
yeah, so when you're traveling, man, you
Yeah, I
got
mean-
that perfect setup.
There's just a method to all this, and if you want to set your beard oil in here while you're in a hotel bathroom,
Exactly.
setting up ready
Right.
to go for Grand Lodge.
Because I
whatever
mean,
it is.
this looks like you can put a strobe in everything in here.
I mean, I've had guys say, "Hey, why don't you put an apron bag?" Well, this is not really an apron bag.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
a toiletry bag, and you're wanting to
Right.
get ready for your event.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I think it's a great idea, a great concept that you came up with.
Yeah, so
That's awesome, man. Very cool.
Guys, you want to take a quick break and come back with more, Carl?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe we should, but I don't want to. But
I mean, dude, I gotta get
I
another beer.
know Dave is like, his light is going red and everything, so we're gonna have to take a break. But all right, with that, we're gonna take a break.
We'll be right back.
And we're back. Welcome to the Refreshment Masonic video podcast. We left you with Carl Hern and some of his amazing products that he has. And most of it is beards and clothing. But the beard thing is going to lead us into our next thing and the reason why these guys are covered. It has to do with the face and the skulls. And you've brung some very interesting artifacts, I'll say. And, well, let's just unreveal the one right here for now, and I'll let you do that. Tell us about this guy here.
Whoa.
Here it is.
There we go.
That's a human skull.
What?
It's a human skull.
So
I know you told me that earlier, but I still can't believe it.
But the thing I've seen is people kind of frown upon, where they put the square in the compass with the skull in the center, and a lot of people are like, the skull's in Freemasonry, but the skull represents something in Memento Mori and all this stuff, and it is a good symbol of Freemasonry, actually.
It is. Everyone gets so like, oh my God, it's a skull.
It's also in the chamber reflection, and it's one of the most profound emblems on the third degree.
I usually think of the Sinbad movie that was made in the 50s.
Oh my God.
Now, Carl,
Carl, if he just broke that, you charged
Yeah,
him.
you charge him as much as you need to be charged.
tell us about this skull. How did you come across it, and what do you know about it?
This skull itself came from a museum in Spain. What I know about it, it's a 59-year-old male. It's been around for quite a while. It's about 200 years old. Legally obtained.
To hold it? Or
Yeah,
not?
wait.
legally obtained.
55
Yeah,
years
Marty.
old.
59.
Okay, 59 years old, but
Taken.
how old?
About 200 years old. 200.
I feel like I don't even want to hold it. The teeth are too loose.
Yeah, we don't need to hold on. Just put it-
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's set
you
it
hug
down
brothers
now.
that have looser teeth, so.
Or no teeth at all.
We're
Like
not
my
no
brother.
teeth. My teeth are about to fall out.
Okay.
Does everybody do that to him? I'm sure they
No,
probably
this is
do.
probably the
Yeah,
first
now
time.
there's a level of
Jesus.
respect, man.
Oh, this is a human head, man. It's a guy's
Hang on. Let's cut the
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
guys. Let's cut the fun because this is someone's
Yeah,
life.
dude.
Because
This,
what I
yeah.
wanna-
You're dealing with someone's
No,
life.
you're right. And what I want to ask is about the markings on here.
Right.
What, I don't know if the camera will catch some of the markings on here. Can you tell us what they say?
Galencia Abastas,
And what do the numbers represent?
59 years old, and then 866 is
Yeah,
the
that's-
catalog number.
That's just medical school.
Yeah.
Stuff.
How
Is
they
it-
store it?
Right. So technically each skull's got to come with its own history.
Yeah.
And it's called provenance.
This this just amazes me.
How long have you had this
No,
skull?
I'm fine, dude. I'm just,
This skull itself, it's about a year old for me in my collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's really
Careful,
cool.
Liz.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Dude,
I
it's
had it in
so
there.
hard to even. Yeah, it's like so fragile. I don't even want to hold it or touch it.
Very careful. There you go.
Yeah.
All right,
so,
now that Wes doesn't have that anymore, can anybody else breathe?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was scared the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, are you guys serious?
Bro,
Yeah, dude,
all right,
because
all right.
you heard
I'm
it's
not
an
gonna.
old skull.
I'm not gonna break. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Wes went like full show and tell the trailer park.
Let me do a little play with it.
It's very. This stuff
So-
is very interesting.
It is interesting for sure.
Here's the interesting thing, and the fact that the power behind the skull is it's just such an amazing thing that whenever you hold a real human skull in your hands and you grasp it and you look at it and you feel it and you really hold it in your hands and you say to yourself, this was a living human being that no longer is. And therefore it makes you live your own life to a certain degree. And that's how I live my life, is by that degree of knowing that there's something else at the end. Knowing that something else comes along.
How many years have you had this?
This is about a year old
About
in
a
my
year.
collection,
A year old.
yeah.
Do you know? I'm sorry, ethnology.
It's European.
European?
Yep.
Okay. Now we have two
A couple
other
other
things.
skulls here.
And well, Marty,
Please.
would you like to
Brethren,
unveil
Carefully.
unveil.
that? Rock?
Very carefully. Yeah, please don't get that caught in there.
Now
So-
these.
These
are
are
very
a little.
unique.
These are a tad different.
Tad different.
Tad different. It's,
Yeah, let's.
Trying to.
Do you turn them sideways to show the perspective of? Now, I don't even know where to go about these.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Carl. I think we're all
Yeah.
out of comments.
Yeah,
We're
we
shocked
we
here.
are in like this is not our area. So this is
So here's the thing to remember, guys. When I first stumbled upon this, I was as shocked as you are.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, you understand where I've been at, what I've seen, the things that I've done. And most of you guys know this. So to me, this is just like, wow. Like I had to study this. I had to understand why we've got these skulls that look like that instead of looking like this. So this is what your average human looks like. This is what your average male looks like. But then you've got these two. And it just puts you in a whole perspective of things of saying, hey, how is it that these humans look like this? I haven't seen any humans looking like this myself. So, leads us to think.
And it's something you probably can't see on the camera here. You've seen it on Ancient Aliens and all this other stuff, but you can actually see where the bones of the skull have come together and the difference in the human skull where you see the lines are just not here and how perfectly the shape of it. And even between these two, what do you call these, elongated skulls?
Yeah, what's the actual technical term for something like this?
It's called cranial deformation, is what the scientific term of it is.
So before you get into that, why do some, especially like ancient aliens, say elongated? Is it just like a simpler term?
It's a simpler term. Elongated is because you're talking about the elongation of the skull. So rather than the whole brain growing this way, because you got to think of the brain is housed inside of the skull, right? That's what the skull is, protection for the brain. So the brain is in there this way, right?
yeah.
And if you look at these skulls, the brain is not in there that way. It's kind of weird, like, you know what I mean? Like it's sitting at a certain angle. And you've got to understand that angle in relation to the human brain. And when you think of the human brain, in the center of the human brain is the pineal gland.
Now, and I'll pick this up again. And the pineal gland is just point at it.
The pineal gland would be at the center, the base of the skull. So if you were to drill a hole, well, you obviously have a hole here, but you would drill a hole from the top to the center of the skull. That's where you find your pineal gland.
And these skulls, the elongated skulls, excuse me, I can't remember the other term. Fuck you, Brock. Such a cocksucker.
Cranial deformation.
Sorry about that, but
Are we touching this one?
no, I'm turning it around. I should have turned it the other way because you were telling us about that pineal gland
and
the
about
reason
how
why,
the spinal cord sits differently in these skulls.
and why this one is correct, and these two are not.
So the majority of the skulls that you find, the elongated skulls, the cranial deformation skulls in the world, because they're found throughout the world throughout various sites in every continent. So these skulls, the back of the skulls, where the frontum magnum is at. If you look at a real human skull, you see this hole here, where the base of the spine meets that hole. That's the frontum magnum. These skulls, these elongated skulls, you'll see that the back of their heads are usually bashed in. On about 80% of these skulls, you'll have that whole scenario. And the reason I believe that has been done to these skulls, it's either someone's covering something up, because the frontum magnum, that hole, it's a little bit different on these elongated skulls. And we can get into it a little bit more, but it's going to take a while. I mean, just to explain it briefly.
Go surface.
Right. Briefly, these skulls are not human. They're not human. I repeat, they're not human.
But they're of Earth.
Okay.
They're found on Earth. I can tell you that.
Are
they're
they
found on Earth, but they're
humanoid?
not human. They're humanoid, but not human.
What kind of
But
age
they're not.
are we
They're
talking?
humanoid, but not human.
We're
Okay,
talking.
okay.
We're talking missing link, brethren. Missing link. These are the humans that have evolved from whatever they were
2,000
before
years
to
of-
what we are now.
Now I have
How
a
many
question.
years old?
No, go ahead. You can.
It's just, are they not known really the age, or?
What I've been told is they're about 2,000 years old. I believe they're older. From what I've found,
yeah.
I believe they're a lot older. There are ancient Indian burial sites throughout the United States that have been found that have had elongated skulls. They've had, giants supposedly, and these are a prime example of what that is. That whole molecular structure of human. It's just so bizarre. I mean,
Now,
it's-
It is bizarre. It's unworldly to look at.
I do have two questions, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but compared to this skull and these two skulls, this skull here has, correct me if I'm wrong, something called a sagittal suture, where these, I noticed, do not have it.
Right.
Are they only unique to these type of skulls?
Almost every human being has what's called a sagittal suture, which is a suture that fuses together. It's, when you're born, your skull is composed of different plates. Those plates move and shift as you're being birthed through the canal. So your head fits, in other words.
Okay.
So these plates, they fuse through adulthood, and this is called a sagittal suture. So the only time that I've seen sagittal sutures go away, in other words, that they're not present, is in elderly people. So elderly adults will show a missing or a faded sagittal suture. You'll kind of see it, but
Just
it
over
won't be-
time, it's
It won't be
fused.
as pronounced, right? It's
About
fused.
like what age is?
It depends.
If you know, I mean,
it
obviously.
really depends, and it depends on the person itself. I mean, like I said, the pineal gland has to do with all of that, and the life force energy that is inside of a human, because a human it's an energy channel. In other words, there's all this energy coming out of a human, and what operates the human body is obviously the head. So that's the center, right? So you've got all this energy operating here, and all that energy is swirling. It's kind of going in a swirl G pattern, and it's just swirling inside of that pineal sac. It's in a sac. So you've got this sac growing. So now imagine this sac just growing inside your skull, and that's what you have. You've got this sac that keeps growing. And our pineal glands are as small as our pinky,
And
and they don't expand.
Really?
They've been calcified by things like Coca-Cola and things like that. I mean,
Fluoride.
right, exactly. Fluoride in the drinking water.
When do you think we first started seeing the largest downtick in pineal growth?
yeah, and you're worried about me touching the skull. Okay. So, anyways, one question I do have is, have you ever? Because I've seen.
No, that was a real question. He was.
Wow, it did not sound like it.
No, it came out wrong, but he was really asking a question. He didn't know how to pronounce it
Sorry,
right.
I'm not as educated as you, purple shirt.
Whoa.
No, when did you really start thinking? Because if you go with the idea that was enlightenment and more intelligent and stuff we've lost throughout time.
Sorry. It's
I'm trying.
We're laughing because it's hard for us to see you actually be serious.
That's funny.
It is serious
No,
question like
but I guess I'm usually the comic relief on this particular show. But so hypothetically, we're looking at these, and when do we? Since they're humanoid, we know that somewhere in the evolutionary chain, this was a thing. When did we start seeing the dumbing down of the human?
I think since the history books,
Don't fucking point at me. You're gonna
he's
get
got all the
this show.
answers. It's like,
Well, hey, I would probably say. I mean, you got to think about like human civilization.
That was great.
Man,
You just
and
pointed at me.
well, think about like the Enlightenment and the Dark Ages, and like kind of how people have progressed, and like it's crazy. Is that evolution of skulls? Like, are our skulls growing now? Are we developing differently? I mean, who's taking measurements of this?
Well, okay, because that brings me to the question I was going to ask before we started laughing and everything. Have you or anybody that has had these skulls previous to you have tested the cranial capacity of the skulls?
I haven't tested any of these capacities. It's been tested before. They do possess a higher capacity. What that tells you, I don't know.
I mean, I know they
Yeah.
can tell you the weight and, the shape because they pour rice or the certain
Yeah.
pebbles in,
Yeah.
in it to test the capacity of the skull and how much bigger the brain capacity is from human to something like this or animal. So I didn't know that was something you knew. And that would go along with your guys' question. So
Well, I mean, I just seen there was some Joe Rogan podcast. They were talking about this a monkey or something, a chimp or whatever, that grabbed a spear and was like fishing using a spear.
I think I heard.
And they were like, "Yo, are we
Hands
witnessing?" And they learned it from humans, but they were like, "Are we witnessing the evolution of that species using tools and hunting and trying? Like, is it that crazy, or is this something that we can still see happening today?" Maybe, yes.
I don't know. We've touched a lot of subjects.
We have touched a lot of
I mean,
subjects.
we
Well, I
have
mean,
a lot
dude,
of
we
good
got
questions
some-
that we don't have answers
Well,
for.
no,
I mean,
we got
but
something
it's
crazy
very
on the-
good. I mean,
Well, to tie this back all with Masonry, I think the one thing man needs to realize, I think it's really encompassed in the spirit of Memento Mori, Masonry, what the third degree is we're here for a very, very, very short time. And sometimes, especially I feel maybe just because I'm experienced it, but our generation, just because we have iPhones really doesn't mean much. In the longer scheme of things,
I think it means less that we have iPhones now than
there's been greater
everything
technologies lost. Look at the Amazon. Look at the irrigation systems. No one could explain. And when you look at this, it all ties together of what really has happened, what's been lost, what's been covered up. What are we now? Where are we going?
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing that you say cover up, because these have been covered up. The archaeological
Peru
museum
was denying these, right?
Exactly. The archaeological museum in Lima, Peru, has about 40,000 of these.
Do they acknowledge them now, or do they still deny them?
They acknowledge them, but they won't display them at all. They won't show them to anyone. So if you want to come and see them,
But what is there to
if you
be?
put in a special request to study them, no. You
I'm
can't.
sure
In
it's 'cause
museums,
of
that's what
fear,
museums
but-
are. So in other words, museums are repositories of knowledge. You
Yeah.
go there, and if you need an artifact, if you're studying to be whatever it may be, you go and you look at that artifact, and they'll allow you to look at it. They'll log you in, and not the Museum of Lima.
Wow.
Okay. And right now, I'd really love to just turn this over to you, take full artistic, intellectual liberties. What is your thoughts? What is your take with the travels you've done? What is this? Why is this? And why is there that pushback? Just go. We're not going to interrupt you. Just give us everything.
So I mean, that pushback that you see is just, they've written a story. In other words, they've given an account to the world of what they want the world to be. In other words.
History is his story.
Exactly. So they've done that. They've got this whole basis, this whole theory of who man is and who man represents and who he worships. They've got this whole theory, right, that's spun off and broken off into 3 different major sects. Different religions, right? You've got these sects that they just compose of everything that is, and you've got man. And what you really got is just the story of who we are, and it's been taken and it's been transcribed to something else. What I mean by transcribed, it's written down. It's written down.
Passed down.
Exactly. So it's in that volume of sacred law. It's all written there. So it's all meant for us, in other words. We've got to unify man to what man really is. And when we see these cover-ups, we understand that man isn't who they want it to be. They want man to be something else. So they take us, they manipulate us, and they do all these Illuminati things.
And then they create WhatsApp and try to get it
good
going.
up
Illuminati.
yeah.
Well,
So your brain starts to grow weird, and then you get all fucked up, and then you look like that.
is this Illuminati confirmed?
Yeah.
Now, but
No,
within
seriously.
your theory, though, the representation of this is the higher intellectual human compared to this, or humanoid, or however you want to look at it. But this would be the more learned spiritual species, or
They possess a certain knowledge that we don't have. In other words, the human that you see now has had to adapt to the world that it, it's a different world. It was a different, you had to look at things differently.
well, adapt or die.
Right.
That's the only
So-
goal of any species
So,
is
for
to continue
example,
being a species.
kids in the future are going to look like this because that's what kids are looking like.
Yeah,
now.
right. Everyone's gonna be walking around all
Right,
hunchbacked,
exactly.
you know.
So you're
instead of
that adaptability. In other words, these people were high up. You've got your water elevation, the Great Flood. You know, what I mean, you've got it in every major religion. You talk about the Great Flood, the Great Deluge, and you've got this elevation
That's
where now you're
that's
on mountaintops.
scientifically proved for
Right.
atheism.
So
points,
you're on
right?
mountaintops. These
Yeah.
people here, these skulls that were found were on mountaintops. In other words, like they were found at the highest places on the earth,
No way.
and that's where you find most of these structures.
Well, with that, I hate to cut you off, but we do have to go to a break, and we will be back with some extra innings with this and Carl Hern. And we're back. We left you with Carl Hern and the elongated skulls, and we were talking about a number of different things about the elongated skull. And one thing I want to ask, because you had said that these skulls here, about 80% of them are found with the back of their heads or broken. Is that correct?
The back of their head smashed in.
Smashed in. Okay. And you said that might be for the pineal gland as well.
It's right. They were harvested. In other words, their pineal glands were harvested, so the back of their skulls were smashed open.
Okay. And whenever I watched Ancient Aliens and stuff, you can't ask questions. And I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but do you find it funny that 80% of these are cracked in the same place where King Tut had his skull bashed in? I mean, it's pretty much the same place.
Is it really?
And his
Yes.
head is kind of elongated.
Yeah, if you see
because
the new
basically,
the 3D art
this
that
was
they've come out with,
if
it's
this was
kinda-
King Tut's skull,
Or like,
right here,
this
is cracked.
Really?
Yes, and he was obviously known as the Boy King and all that, but I don't know. Have you thought of that? I'm obviously
Well, I
you
know
guys are
there's a lot of
surprised by
mystery
it,
around King Tut. Could he have been one of the last one of this?
but as far as I know, his skull isn't elongated. Is that correct?
Actually, his skull is elongated.
It is?
It is elongated.
Okay.
It's got slight elongation to it, similar to this skull here.
Well,
What about
Oh, it
Anunnaki?
does. Okay, all right.
But hold
all right.
on. In theory, and this is going to tie a couple ideas together. The suture that runs on the top of the head on what we know as our skulls, where you say could fade as someone ages and it gets less pronounced. Well, it's obviously not here. Maybe at one time they did have this, and these are just older beings. Where King Tutankhamun, he had a slight elongation. Maybe this is something that could grow over time. Is that possible at all?
It's funny you mention that because King Tut did have a sagittal suture.
Oh, he did, even
And he
though
was
his
younger, right? He was younger, so he
Because
did have a sagittal
I'm sorry, he was
suture.
20 or just under 20?
He was roughly.
I
I
thought
think he was younger than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought he was like,
I thought he was like the
mid to late.
12-year-old.
No, I thought he was
I
like mid to
think
late
he came to the
teens.
throne
Like
at
14
12
or something like
Yeah.
that.
I think he was
about
a throne at
14
12,
years
dead by 18
Yeah.
or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah, I'm
like
not-
teens, yeah.
Wow.
So he was missing. I mean, he had a sagittal suture. He wasn't missing it like these. So you might be onto something as far as them.
Well, I mean, you
being
hear about
older
stories of people being like, humans used to live 150 years, 200
yeah.
years. Like these
Bahamas,
biblical
Barbados,
stories
that
of-
isn't weird at all anymore. You go to a lot of the, those islands, you will meet people that are 120. It's a whole,
Yeah.
and I mean,
That's wild.
and I'm a celebration of every unhealthy idea in the world. What? But trust me, it shows. You'll see meet like people that are 115, a lot healthier than me over there, and it's a whole nother lifestyle choice, really, and just like what they're representing.
Right.
Right. Now, there's so many things about these skulls. Two things, actually two questions. Is there a pen? Or here, I'll just use this. These little things right here, you know what I'm pointing at right here.
Okay.
Do you have any ideas what that is because it doesn't show up on a human skull, but both of these have that little notch in there. Has that ever been explained to you?
I think that the notch, what it was for the eye socket, the nerves and the endings that are connected to the back of the eyeball. They would, need a little bit more room to reach up. So these humans, what I believe that they did were they had a higher range of motion in their neck. So they were either quadrupedal, where they walked on all fours, or they were able to lift their necks higher than we were. It would cause their eyes to be able to, look a little bit further than ours.
Because it almost looks painful. I don't know what it has to do from the aging of the skull now that the individual is passed on, but man, that looks like they would cut the eye. Just looking
Like
at
you
it.
would catch, right?
Yeah, because when you say the nerve endings, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really sharp area for nerve endings to be in.
But then again, though, to go to what we were talking before, if the skull kept evolving and growing, that might have been just what happened.
Yeah, just
right.
might
No,
have been-
no, it's very, very interesting to me. I
It's an
can't
interesting
get
point.
over that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and it warrants more research.
Now,
I
these
think
have been found in all 7 continents, correct?
all over the world. Anywhere there's major megalithic sites, like major construction, ancient masonry, in other words, you find these skulls. You'll find these skulls in one shape, form, or another, but they'll all be elongated for some odd reason, and no one can put an answer to it.
Now, have you heard of the rumors of the, I don't even know how to describe this. I don't know if they were considered like this, but there were some old Illinois mummies or something like that they had found back in the day, and a bunch of old Egyptian antiques and rare artifacts that had come up and been washed out and stuff. And is that something like, or you hear about the the mound builders or some of the wall builders in Texas that would build these crazy long brick walls and stuff and all this crazy stuff, but they were like, dude, this had been so long ago that it isn't the modern human or the native at this point. We're talking way before that.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because what you have to remember with these humans, these ancient humans, was that they lived in an era, in a time where it was completely different than what it is now.
Right.
You're talking about 80% of the earth covered in water. Imagine that for a minute. 80% of the earth is covered in water. So what you are seafaring people. In other words, what you're going to do is you're going to get on a boat, figure out what other island to get to, and you're going to find it. And that island, you're going to see what's on it. You're going to be a conqueror, conquistador, all these things that we know that history has proven, hey, this is what has happened, right? So when you consider Masonry, for example, Masonry came over on pirate ships. Believe it or not, it came to the Caribbean on pirate ships. Because they had to have this
The skull
order.
and crossbones.
Exactly. They had to have this order in their ships, that they had to maintain this secrecy and this just divine, you know what I'm talking about?
I believe it's a
This
Masonic
divinity,
symbol,
right,
but
exactly.
there's so many things to it. I've heard it's the Templars, and then I heard that it was
Well, we're
actually
Templars,
people
pirates.
that
Pirates.
actually plundered
Yeah.
old Jewish ossuaries, because in the ossuaries the bones were crossed over and the skull was laid in it because of how big the
There's
ossuary
no
was.
reason though to believe there's not truth to all of that.
You're absolutely right.
Masonry is every productive thought a man's ever had combined into one ideology. Realistically, that's the best way to describe it.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a true interpretation for the symbols in certain situations, but everybody puts their own spin, their own interpretation, so it can apply it to their life. Because we're just like the guy in the stone, cutting ourselves out, and everybody might start at the chest. Some guys like, no, my legs need to be done first because I need to have a good foundation, or however they want to put it. So what you said, Marty, makes a heck of a lot of sense. And now, this particular one over here, Marty, I'll point it here, and if you could turn it around, Marty.
Yeah, of course, guys.
Thank you.
I think Dave's gonna get some close-ups. He's gonna splice them.
There's this little area here. I'm not sure if our audience out there will be able to see it, but can you tell us about that?
So what you're seeing is like a circle made out of bone, basically. What it is, it's been drilled, so it's been trepanated. At some point, that person underwent brain surgery. So
Now,
someone drilled into his brain.
While
okay,
living,
wait,
though,
when
because
you-
the skull is grown back
Right.
afterwards.
They've lived
So they
through it, and it's
survived
healed
the
over.
situation.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to another Egyptian question. Not that these are Egyptian. A drill 2,000 years ago.
Right.
A modern brain surgery.
Because
a
I
type
know they
of brain
have
surgery.
they have that one that it looks like marble or granite, whatever it is. Maybe you've seen it on some shows. I don't know the correct name, but they say it's kind of like a drill.
It's drilled, yeah.
You know, you got to remember, like, you know, I love history. Maybe I'm a little off, maybe a little wrong, but you guys got to remember I think it was the second sacking of Rome or the first sacking of Rome when Rome was sacked and the Great Library went up in flames.
it's
That
Alexander,
set
yeah.
us back like about 1,000 to 2,000 years. We're still.
I think probably longer than that.
No, because there is so much stuff, so much knowledge that went up in flames during that we are so far behind where we really should be.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? I watch the History Channel a lot, and they there's different, you know, shows that they talk about different things, and you know they're finding like new things every day about like, wow, we can't believe that this ancient civilization had this technology, you know, or there's still technology that we know and we've been known and we still can't explain how they were able to do what they did. You know, I mean,
You're right. How did they build the pyramids? How did they get skulls like this? Were they born like this? Did they actually have to, you know, wrap their heads? Even though some people say no, others say yes.
There's so
It's
much
hard to fathom.
And even then, why do it though?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you have 7 continents and you've got people all throughout these places doing the same thing to these skulls? They're wrapping them, they're tying them. How did they know? So you're talking about different time periods. You know what I'm saying?
And
You've
these
got-
are also
how did they
pyramid building
communicate? How did they
cultures too.
communicate? Right.
All of these cultures have pyramids as well. Like
Yep.
that's another thing that exists
There's
completely
pyramids
around the
in
world.
in the Americas. That
Oh
are
yeah,
covered all
that are
over.
huge.
Yep.
Cahokia.
Yeah.
And you know, I think this, if it is the individual's own creation of elongating the skull, it's because they saw something, they wanted to interpret something. Because everybody does it today. Clothes, how you wear your hats, how I wear clothes. Everybody has gotten it from something that they have seen. So
Ancient sagging.
why wouldn't why
sagging.
wouldn't they do
Oh my God.
something that they see and try to interpret? It only makes sense, or maybe
Well,
it's just like
especially
big brain.
if it makes them feel
great
more
life.
connected to something that they saw.
Yeah.
You know, the chariots of the sky and all those different ideas. You know, maybe because there's so much technology we can't explain.
Right.
At this point, to even say that we have a comprehensive base on anything is really almost an ignorant statement. Science is a system of trial and errors where we hope for the best. It's not a profound understanding of everything. And you know, Yoshi, as you talked about that fire that was, you know, when everything was lost in Rome. How about all the times it happened that were never got written
Yeah,
down?
that never got written down.
I mean,
yeah.
Look at what the
Well,
Nazis
history is
did to
written by the
Freemasonry.
victors and
That's
not
true.
by the
You
losers.
don't even
true.
think about in World War II that they talk maybe 200,000 Freemasons were killed, and all of the lodges and the everything that was sacked, the books, the alchemy, all the stuff
Yeah.
that were in these secret societies that people have been holding for 200 years. That once somebody came to power and wanted those secrets, it's
Yeah.
like, dude, if there's nothing stopping you, they just ransacked everything. And what we know now is the things that they found. Oh, we found an old Nazi train car filled with Norway's Masonic history, you know, and it's like, what? Like, how is that even, what?
Because there's so much land in places we just don't realize it. Everybody says the world is so small. Yes, in certain ways it is, but there's so many places to hide so many things.
No, it's true.
So I mean, we're still looking for
We have the
Genghis
Knights
Khan.
Templar.
It's not Genghis. I heard it was called Genghis Khan. That's
Genghis Khan.
And
Yeah.
it's like we're still looking for his tomb.
Yeah, dude.
So-
They will. You'll never find it, dude. They won't let you find it. Because I watched.
I'm just
I watched
saying,
the show
you
about
can
that
hide
too.
things
Yeah,
anywhere
yeah.
in the earth.
But they keep that like so. That is like one of the biggest secrets of the world, and they won't. Even if they
Someone knows.
Someone does know, and they're not going to let you find
I've
it.
been to the Chinese pyramids.
Yeah.
Let me
Oh,
tell you,
have
they do a really good job covering it up.
Oh yeah.
Really good job.
Well,
See,
dude, I
and
mean,
that's
they
even
do a good job
scarier.
covering them up here,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I never knew that. I never knew about the pyramids that are here.
Is there one in St. Louis?
Illinois.
Oh yeah, downstate.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is so
downstate,
bizarre
it's
because
just like-
there's a lot of
Illinois
road
has this
trip.
crazy
Grotto road
heritage.
trip.
we should.
Okay.
We should. That would be great.
There's a
Yeah.
lot
St.
of
Louis,
man-made
right there.
mounds that they find artifacts from. There's burial grounds in Illinois that
Serpent
you don't know
Mound in
about.
Ohio.
Now, in the lower part of Illinois, they believe that they found a number of pillars. I think it's 10 or 12 that go across the state, and they think that it was actual fortification because in the United States, it's not known because I know the guy that destroyed a lot of the evidence. His name was Wesley, so how could I not forget that? But he destroyed a lot of Native American evidence that they were here, and that they actually built small cities, which we would call large nowadays to them, in wood, and some minor metallurgy, but you won't hear that in news or anything. You got to go searching.
Yeah,
for
you
that
need to
stuff.
go. Like a lot of this
They-
stuff you do, you have
Yeah,
to go.
So they do cover up a lot of things about
I am
that.
so tired of all the cover-ups. You know what? Hold on. I haven't ranted at anyone at home in a while.
Please.
All right, so check it out. If you're at home and you are some type of explorer or someone going through the woods, you find something that challenges your theory of spirituality or being in this universe, and your first instinct is to harm it or hide it, you are an asshole. Realistically, every day is evolution. Open your mind. Be open to new ideas. You find a Sasquatch set of bones, do not hide it in your garage. Call the Refreshment Masonic podcast. We will come report this for you. Don't be an asshole.
Say like
here.
Peter Crane. on-
Don't be Megadeth countdown to extinction.
Yeah.
wanna
But
do
no,
that
but I always
shit.
love that when people are like, "Oh my God, this challenges my fragile sense of ego." Like, shut up and learn something.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You got to think about the perspective of life, man. And life at the end is like, it is all like pretty much perspective. It's like how you look at it and from, you know, how much different it is. And it's just perspective. It's really like, there's nothing saying like good and bad or dark and light, whatever. I mean, dude, but, you know, like on our Star Wars episode, we were talking about, you know, the different ways of the Force and whatever. But the dark side does have a power to it, and it is powerful, and it's the same power, and it is that. But, you know, it's that dual action that exists in that power.
Last time I checked, the mosaic was a little checkered there, wasn't it?
That's
You got to
exactly
have the
right.
balance.
That's the duality.
Yeah, the
That's the
duality.
duality.
You
The
know,
dual-
it's yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I'm all about it.
Yep.
Yes,
The
you
black
do.
and white.
I,
Positive, negative.
there's so many things out there that we've learned and forgotten and are relearning.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
The relearning is the
The
funny part.
relearning. It's
Yeah.
it's that is the amazing part because we now that we have
Right.
You know, that's just the new tower.
that came out of the ground. I don't believe it. Let me look it on Google.
Yeah.
You know, those
Then
are
I'll
just the
look-
new Tower of Babylon, right?
Yeah.
That's all they are now. It's just our new interpretation of the Tower of Babylon. And if you've taken a look at society lately, it's falling.
I wish I could remember that Einstein quote: "Society that's so technology advanced."
No, I know what you're
can't
talking- oh
see
my God, I
what
can't-
the natural
Like,
things
it's-
happening
it's-
around
it's
us, something like that.
destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a great thing because it is happening today.
true.
I mean,
It's true.
I encourage everyone out there to learn more about it than just our comedic antics here
Exactly.
on the show.
It's one
Honestly-
thing to see it in real life,
Right.
man. When
I
you
mean,
see
I've
this
never
skull and you feel
until
it in
today.
its
I've
bone,
never
it's
touched these,
real.
and it does mean something. We are comedy. We are like to have fun and everything, but search this stuff out if you're very interested. Just don't go by what we say. I
Well, look
mean,
at that dried blood in that eye socket from 2,000 years ago, and take a smell of it.
I
and tell
thought
me
that was
that's
just a
not
shot
real.
you spilled in there. We didn't want to tell Carl. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you.
No, Wes, you're totally right, man. Everybody out there, you need you know. I hate. I don't want to use this, but like in reality, yeah, educate yourself, learn, seek knowledge.
Right.
Find that light. And that's what you need to do. Like, don't go out there and start talking about your woke, okay? Because that's stupid, okay? Just educate yourself.
I'm elongated woke.
Yeah, I'm elongated woke, yo.
I'm
Like,
awake.
Yeah, there you go. Seek, exactly.
Seek more light.
See.
There you go.
That's all it is.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Don't
Seek.
destroy. Just listen.
Yeah,
to
don't
Metallica.
destroy.
Seek and
Just
destroy.
listen to Metallica. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, if you want to humor me 1 second, I think I have
Sure.
a great idea to kind of wrap this up together. Carl, you're of course an artist first with your great clothing. That's what we brought you here for. But we all know the more interesting part of you is what you do with your travels around the globe going to these sites.
I brought him here just to make this look sparkly.
That's the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen happen on the show. Realistically, what I would like to challenge you to do right now, there's a Carl that goes to pyramids and reflects upon everything and searches this stuff out. And then there's the Carl that I run into at Blue Lodge, Grotto, Scottish Rite, York Rite meetings. How did those two connect and how did they play off each other and build each side?
Well, I mean, there is no separation.
Okay.
That Carl that you see that's at the meetings, that you know what I mean, that Carl that's at home is the same Carl. The moment that you lose that difference is the moment that you lose yourself. And that's what Masonry has taught me, is to ground myself and show myself the way. Because I myself hold all the answers. There's no one else but you.
Squaring those actions.
Exactly. There's no one else but you circumscribing yourself. And that's what it's about. It's all it's about.
It's like the subdue your passions. We joke about it with the drinking thing,
Yeah.
but it really is about
No, it is.
subduing passions. You know,
it's about
things you're not so
intolerance.
heated about. It doesn't mean
Yep.
about suffering, but
Yeah, no,
Things
that is
like
the
doing.
big problem with everything is everybody wants to just close their mind off to everything. You know, anything that challenges what they believe in, just don't go out and hate it right away. Listen, I mean, you still don't have to accept it if you don't want to, but like don't just hate on somebody for their difference. Don't hate on someone for their belief. Or what they learned. Go out and learn it yourself. Go out, seek that knowledge, and if everything comes, when everything is said and done, if it's not for you, then it's not for you, but don't just hate something blindly.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to judge.
Yeah, everybody wants to judge. Everybody wants to
Everyone's
judge.
got a gavel, but who's got a gavel?
You're
Masonry,
right. You're
who's
right.
got a gavel?
It's the 4 down mentality. Everybody has that. If I cannot get to that goal line in 4 downs, the hell with it. It's not for me. It can't be done. Kick off. I'll worry about it later. Not now.
I thought you were talking about
Here-
hockey
here-
for a second. I was like, 4 downs. I was like,
All right, we're ending the show because I'm not a football fan and I know that. Oh fucking gosh.
Oh wow.
Well,
I don't
Boston Jaguars.
It was a good. It was a good while it lasted.
yeah,
I got lost in the sports analogy, man.
the Miami Harries.
Yeah.
All right, you know what,
So, anyways,
Carl?
Thank you for coming out, man.
Yeah,
Thank
Carl,
you for
thank you for
educating
coming
us
out.
and teaching
And
us about these skulls, man.
with that, real quick, at the shout out and shouts out, I want to give a shout out to a special guest today, JP. We did you last one, Courtney. JP, thank you for coming out. Thank you for helping us with a lot of things, and to Carl for coming out.
Best supportive non-Mason I know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Shout out.
All right, everyone, cheers.
Clinkety, 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 clinkety. Cheers, cheers. Yeah.
Marty, what are you doing, man? We need to click.
Same time.
Same time. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
The lime was more sour than the shot was smoother than the lime. I was like, ooh.
The Patron is always smooth at Manny's Ale House here in the Trowel Club. Once again, you're watching us on
and check it
YouTube. Check us out on Buzzsprout, where all our podcast links are at.
Instagram.
iTunes.
AscendedMastersClothing.com. Check it out.
In the bottom of the description.
Check them out. Listen, subscribe, and especially search these out on your own. Thank you for watching.
Google it.
We'll be back again.